Thank you for joining me. My name is Devin on Madgy. I would like to talk about this vast discontentment a lot of us feel in this world. Obviously, there is so much to be frustrated about, to be anxious about, to be upset about, whether it's personal, political, cultural, economic. I mean, we could point to this, that, and the other as the root cause of our dissatisfaction with life. I think a lot of us are feeling this dissatisfaction with life. However, I do not believe that the immediate mortal earth-based reasons we tend to give ourselves are actually the cause of our frustration, our discontentment. We exist in two worlds. We exist in a mortal world, one that is very limited, one that will have an end, one that knows everything to die and to perish, one that is in time and space. But then there's the part of ourselves that is very immortal, that is never ending, that is divine, that is godly, that place which we emerge from and will merge back into. That's the realm of the immortals, and we all exist there. That's our birthplace, that's our homeland. So when we come into this world of limitation, progressively we forget about this original component that feeds us, that nourishes us, and instead we become preoccupied with linear ongoings in this world, whether it's our life stories, our desire for fame, attention, love, whether it's our obsession with some kind of political or social tension, whatever it is that is frustrating us about the human life is always a mechanism for energy extraction. Because we're not seeing clearly when we're only focused on the earthly, on the fleshly. So I believe the antidote to our suffering, to our dissatisfaction, always begins with true awareness of this original component of ourselves. It's the bee's knees, the soul, baby, the essence, the spirit. I mean, we have a million and one words for it, and I know people argue about the definitions, but there is a being that has actually never really been hurt by anything in this world. And that being is safe. That being is nurtured. That being is full of expression and creativity and fun. And it's a very light-hearted energy that many have experienced in their various spiritual or religious pursuits. We are truly children outside of the progression of time, which twists and turns us and seems to pull us into a consciousness that can only see what is around and not what is inside. And I would say this world is very good at distracting us from the very simplistic truths about ourselves and our essence. Complexity is very tempting. It's often viewed as intellectual, or like that's where the truth lies. It can't be super simple, but that's the opposite of the truth. Wisdom is always quite simple. And wisdom will always tell us the reason we suffer has nothing to do with the reasons our mind seems to conjure up. Like, oh yeah, it has to do with my past, or oh, it has to do with the political climate, or if only my father treated me differently, or if only my love interest or husband would just be better or do this in a different way, then I would be satisfied. This is the mortal consciousness that refuses to acknowledge the only reason we suffer, the only reason we're dissatisfied is because we forget who we are. And when we forget who we are and where we come from and what actually comprises our being, we become poisoned. We become poisoned by this world, by our own actions that result from our forgetfulness, by our own habits and tendencies, and we are left without a reverence for what is, because what is in this world can never be what is. It all dies, it all degrades. Everything has an expiration date in this world. So how can this world possibly be what really exists? That's kind of the insidious nature of being in this strange paradox. We are animals, but we are gods. And if we are only aware that we are animals, and I would say most people actually feel that way, then of course there are a million and one concerns to be had. Of course, experience has everything to do with our environment if we're simply an animal. And I'm not denouncing the fact that environment and experience are related, but there's an experience we can have completely separate from our environment. The truest experience, after all, has everything to do with our internal environment. The energy extraction matrix has you by the balls, or by the pussy or something, I don't know. It's got you in a cage when you believe the only way to solve your problems is to rearrange something in this outer world rather than your approach towards this world. And that's a truth that is kind of too simple, right? It has to be a bit more complex than that. The mind feeds off of the minutiae, the details, the different layers of this and that. We can become preoccupied with the books on the shelf of reality. And while curiosity is a beautiful energy, just like Alice fell into the rabbit hole and ends up in a pretty unpleasant realm called Wonderland, our own curiosity does the same. We, like Alice, can become discontent with a simple reality that is just quite peaceful and nurturing, and instead we might want to go on some adventures. But after going on plenty of adventures, I think the true seeker realizes the greatest adventure is in acknowledging it's always right here, right now. It doesn't have to be sought after. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be searched for because it's already here. And I'm not saying just do nothing all day and sit and shut up because there's nothing to do in this world. I'm absolutely a proponent of merging these two realities, the human and the godly, the animal and the divine, the limited and the unlimited. But the problem is we can't be led by the earthly if we are to find a sense of satisfaction and true wonder. We have to be careful about our allegiance to this world. Are we allegiant to this world? We know we are if our mind is full of measurement from the outside in. So, what I'm really trying to say is the greatest way to beat the energy extraction system is to have one foot in this world and one foot out at all times. And I know this can be difficult, but I think a lot of the mental, emotional, and even physical distress we experience, which ultimately translates into spiritual distress, I believe all of this can be greatly reduced and even eradicated when we constantly remind ourselves what this is. This is a school, baby. This is a temporary dream. It's just happening as it's happening. And we could say all of the great sages that have been recorded throughout history, or so-called history, have basically just been trying to say this. It's not even that mystical, it's not that difficult, and it's not complex to say you are a creature from the great beyond. And if you ever forget you're from the great beyond, then you will start to believe you're from this world, and you will start to observe everything through that very foolish, limited lens. And then your thoughts and your appearance even, and your speech and your habits, etc., will be as destructive as we see played out on the stage of reality almost everywhere. So we have a lot of clear proof in our lives and in the lives of others that if one just follows the herd, any herd, if one just sinks into mortal consciousness and this is what there is, and let's only focus on the body, let's only focus on the mind, let's only focus on the relationships, let's only focus on the societal woes. If we do this, we're not going to see everything in a truthful light. And we want to see things from a truthful light because ultimately the truth conquers. I'm advocating to get out of all complexity. Everything that is verbose, get it out of your life and sink into something that is so simply here, that is so simply now, that is so simply untethered by time and space, that it can't even be understood with definitions, with words, with shared concepts. Energy extraction happens when we're uncomfortable with simplicity. The unknown is really simplicity. I mean, people will live their entire lives trying to find the truth, or trying to be a proponent of the correct, or trying to secure the perfect existence or relationship or job or reputation. And yet, there will come a point where we blast off back into infinity, right? Infinity and beyond, the great beyond, the great unknown. And it's only unknown if we've been spending this life trying to pull ourselves away from what we truly know to be nourishing. And of course, I'm dealing in such an abstract kind of concept. I'm dealing with something that is so simple, it's absurd. You are divine, you are immortal, Once you know that, and truly know it, not as just a fleeting idea as you're sipping your morning coffee or something, but as a an immovable truth. Once that is known, your ass will follow, and your ass does follow. We hurt ourselves in the body, in the mind. Ultimately, in spirit. When we refuse to recognize the simple truth that you're in a school, it kind of is some artificial reality. It kind of is like you're sleeping and dreaming this crazy moment right here, right now. If we can only relax the mind and relax the emotions and stop abusing our bodies, and if we can only relax into our immortal selves, oh my goodness, we can have such a more expanded experience than anyone has ever taught us about in this world. Basically, we can merge the great beyond into this earthly realm. But it takes some sacrifice. It takes sacrificing the part of ourselves that longs for earthly rewards. And these could be rewards of the body, like inebriation or some kind of sugar high. This could be rewards of society, like career accolades or some kind of position that can be gook and gawked at. This could be feeling dominant in our relationships, our romantic connections, even our friendships. There is so much humans go after that ultimately will fall apart. I mean, everything we go after that can be confirmed by others in this world can and will fall apart. And this is why having a lot of reverence for one's own practice in solitude, one's own personal sphere of immortal acknowledgement, it's very important. That's why that is the space that we should grow more comfortable with if we want to really experience the bliss or the true awakening of the heart and soul. And this is nothing that can be given from anything or anyone but yourself. There is no dealer of spiritual truth, because there doesn't have to be. And anyone who claims to be a dealer of spiritual truth is a goddamn liar. It's all inside, baby. You know these simple truths. And once we know them, we can actualize ourselves rather than just philosophize. I mean, so much in this world is just pure talk, pure mental noise. Like, honestly, I would say most people are stuck in realities that have nothing to do with what's actually happening. And even what's actually happening tends to be fueled or constructed by these mental epitomes that come forth from a desire to separate oneself from immortal consciousness. The Joker asks, why so serious? Why do we get so enraged, so anxious, so depressed, so worried, so... I don't know. Why do we get so fill in the blank? For what reason? Because we think it's important. Why do we think it's important? Because we have to place importance on something. And it may as well be something that we can verify with our senses. And that is one of the greatest tricks of this energy extraction world. Your senses don't tell you everything about yourself. It can tell you a bit, but the only way to sense the immortal is to cut ourselves off from believing everything our senses tell us, so we can get to something a bit more sacred. Thank you for joining me. Keep up the great work.